Hi, I'm Dr. Will Horton of the LiveFree Online Addiction Recovery Program. And today we're going to be talking about meaning, or why the meaning that you put on situations will guide your life. Because what do I mean by meaning? Well, you react or act to any given situation based on the meaning you place on it. Easy example that jumps out at me is when someone has a birthday. Is it a special day or is it just another day? You know, we all have friends that they take the whole day off on their birthday because it's very special to them. And we probably know people that on their birthday, they don't even remember it's their birthday. To them, it's just another day. That's a great example of if you place a lot of meaning on it, it's going to be a special day. If you place no meaning on it, it's just another day. And meanings are based on beliefs, values, attitude, training, and experience. If you're very experienced and trained in a certain field, you're going to look at a problem differently because you're placing different meaning on the situation than people that don't see that. And in recovery, the meaning you place on your addiction and your recovery will either guide you to happiness or it's going to guide you to pain. Because meaning and action are intertwined. You can't separate them. You know, how you act or react in a situation is based on the meaning you give it. Best example is a prison story. When I worked at a prison, I was the clinical director of a psych unit at his prison. I had a gentleman there I was talking to. He was in his late 40s, and he was serving a life sentence for murder. And what happened was he had got a short prison sentence, and when he was in prison, he ended up committing a crime in prison. He committed murder while he was in prison, and he was going to serve life with no possibility of parole. Well, anyway, I was talking to him, and what he said was, when he looked back on his life, he couldn't believe he did what he did. He was almost done with his first prison sentence. He would have gotten out. He would have been free. Well, what happened was he was a part of the gang, and there was an interaction with some other people in the prison, and they said some things about the gang and the gang members. And so he overreacted to it, and it escalated into a fight, and a person died. So he was charged with murder, and he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison over the meaning he placed on that interaction. And he looked at me and he said, "Doc, I don't believe, knowing what I know now, that I could have done that back then." And what happened was, hindsight's always 20/20. He realized he could have let the insult go by. But at the time he said, "I felt like I was doing the right thing," because he placed that meaning which caused a certain action. And that's what happens to all of us, because you're always reacting to life. You know, how do you live life on life's terms, is always said. Because that's part of it. You're reacting to life based on past events. If you carry your past too far into the future, as I always say, it's like looking in the rearview mirror. If you're looking in the rearview mirror trying to drive forward, you're going to crash. You want to focus on where you're going, you know? And how do you know the proper reactions when things are happening? And the real question, can you act without reacting? Can you figure out what kind of meaning you want to put on a situation as it's beginning to appear to you? Can you train yourself to see the world through new eyes? Yes. And the easiest way is if you think of a neutral event, when something goes on in your life and it's kind of neutral, you feel neutral. There's no negative charge. If you think about something that happened that was negative, somebody said something that made you mad, you feel a negative charge. So if you can begin to experience all events neutral before you label them or you emotion them, you take control. It's a Zen-like state because you can live as if life is happening for you, not to you. So when a situation happens, before you judge good, bad, or indifferent, you just notice the situation. Then you can decide. And if it's negative, if there's something negative, you remove the negative charge as soon as possible, because resentment is letting them grow and lingering and resending that old negative feeling. Now, how do you do this? Well, if you go back and you do our gratitude experiment, it begins to change how you feel. Reminds me of a story. And there was an American Indian medicine man who was talking to some new warriors. And he said, you know, within you at any given time, you have two dogs fighting. You have a white dog that's positive, wants to do good things. And you have a black dog that's mean and evil and wants to do bad things. So one of the warriors asked, "Well, medicine man, which one wins the fight?" And he said, "Whichever one you feed the most." So you want to make sure you're feeding your brain the proper information. You want to feed the white dog. You want to be positive. You want to be affirming, because what you feed grows and what you starve dies. People with a positive attitude seem to do better in a lot of areas of their life because they're feeding a different attitude. And this can really start giving you what I call future sight. In other words, can you take hindsight and make it future sight? Because one of the things that happen is as you mature, you get a different perspective. Things aren't that important to you. You know, things that in your 20s, if someone said to you, you take, oh my God, it's almost like you're ready to fight. And in your 40s or 50s, you're like, it's no big deal, right? Because that's what being mature is. You see things differently. And if you ever met a young person that seems mature beyond their years, it's because they've learned this little thing through luck, through training, through something, but they see things in a different perspective. They put the future perspective into current situations. One of the things we teach people in counseling for relationship issues is if you're in an argument or in a confrontation with somebody, if you can imagine yourself 6 months from now looking back on this argument, would it be important? Would you even remember what you're arguing about? If it's not, then don't put a lot of meaning on what's going on. Because I can ask you right now, can you tell me the biggest problem you were facing 6 months ago? Most of you can't, because at the time it seems huge, but 6 months into the future, looking back on today, naturally it's not that big a deal. And you can train yourself to have this future sight by taking a moment and asking yourself, 3 or 6 months from now, will this be that big a deal? I'd like to thank you for joining us. And you can always contact us at www.livefreeprogram.org. And always remember, today is the day. This is the time. Now is the moment. The moment you begin to train your brain, you live life at a whole nother level. And that's what we do at LiveFree. Thank you and have a great day.